Bibliophiles of the internet, my name's Adriana, and today I'm here to bring you the I Never book tag. As always, I have to give credit where it's due first. I saw this video done by David over at The Poptimist, who killed it as always, and the tag was first created by Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I will link both of those videos in the down bar below. Number 1, I never read that. Name a book that you've never read that everyone else has. This one has to be Dune by Frank Herbert. When it comes to classic books in general, but especially books that people would consider to be classic SFF stories, I just have no inclination to read them, and that's for a variety of reasons. The first is that a majority of classic SFF is trademark dude territory. Like, it's oversaturated by dudes. A lot of it is written by dudes, about dudes, and for dudes, and there's this clear message of like, you are not welcome here, this was not intended for you. And secondly, when it comes to any classic, but most especially classic SFF, I think it's really important to ask myself, do I feel like I should want to read this because I'm genuinely interested in it? Or do I feel like I should want to read this because it will validate me in the eyes of select readers? Honestly, there are some great SFF classics I would love to read, but overall, I don't feel a need to play catch up. Why would I when there are so many more exciting, fascinating, and inclusive stories being told in modern SFF? And frankly, I would much rather support that. Number 2, I never read anything so awesome. Name one of your favorite books. I thought I would give Ariandante a break today and instead mention Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. I remember exactly where I was, what I was wearing, what I was feeling, what was running through my mind when I first read this book, and you just never forget that moment when these completely made up ideas and words and cultures start making complete sense. You go into it because it's supposed to be about this badass ancillary unit who breaks away from her ship and who wants to exact revenge on the galactic leader of this empire, but really it's so much more than that, and it's a surprisingly human story. Going into the book, you have all these ideas of what it means to be an ancillary unit. You expect Breck to be cold, distant, devoid of emotion, incapable of empathetic thought, and she really challenges that at every single turn, and that just means so much. The trilogy focuses on issues of colonization. It challenges the way we think about gender and pronouns and identity and so many more amazing things. I'm just going to stop myself there because this series is too good for words. Number 3, I never thought I'd get through it. Name a book that you didn't like but that you powered through anyway. That would definitely be What We Left Behind by Robin Talley. This book is a bona fide emotional and mental torture device. It is far and away the most problematic and worst written piece of queer lit I've ever had the displeasure of reading in my entire life, and it could not have ended soon enough. If you would like to read my in-depth thoughts about every single way this story grated on my last nerve, I will link my Goodreads review down below. But I remember the only reason I finished that book was because I was summoned to jury duty, so I had a lot of time to kill, and the entire time I was seething and angry crying on the inside and live texting Ivan every single detail, wondering when will this atrocity end? And once it did, and once I got home, you better believe I had sold that book and I mailed it off that very same day because I couldn't even stand to look at it. Number 4, I will never finish that. Name a book or a series that you don't plan on finishing. There are honestly so many, and just to name a few, there's like the Outlander series, the Mortal Instrument series, the Throne of Glass series, the Poison Study books, the Lunar Chronicles, the Mara Dyer trilogy, the Heroes of Olympus. Just take your pick. Number 5, I will never regret reading that. Name a book that you read solely on a recommendation that you ended up really liking. That would definitely be Shelter by Jung Yun, which I was recommended by Joss from Squibbles Reads. I had of course heard Joss talk often and passionately about this book on her channel, but when I picked it up on a whim, it was just so much more than I could have ever anticipated in the best way. The story explores so many valuable things like the pressures of being a second-generation immigrant, what it means to be successful in America, the stigma surrounding mixed-race families in America. It's a mystery, it's a thriller, it's a family drama. I will just never ever forget reading this book. Number 6, I would never do that. Name a relatable character who does things you don't agree with or who does things you would never do. That would undoubtedly be Sue Simon from the Mediator series by Meg Cabot. Suze has no boundaries. When it comes to mediating, she will lie, steal, con, and scheme her way into any situation. She doesn't care, and she's incredibly ballsy. She will kick people's butts and endanger her own life in seconds if it means the job is gonna get done. And she also cares way too much about what other people in her life will think about her problems, so she spends a lot of her time compartmentalizing and lying to the people she loves, which is also a thing I would not do. Number 7, I never wanted to admit it. Name a book that you were embarrassed to say that you read, or a book that you were embarrassed to carry around with you. My choice definitely falls into the second category, and that is The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa, but not this cover, the original cover, which I will insert here and is, in a word, horrendous. Not only does this completely unimaginative cover not fully represent the story within, but I feel like it's so cliche and it's so cheesy that it would actually turn people away. Like if people saw this cover, they'd be like, oh, it's one of those books, when really the Blood of Eden trilogy has so much more depth and has so much more to offer than this design suggests. But this is definitely a trilogy that y'all should read because its own voices, not because Julie Kagawa is a paranormal creature, but because the story is about a female vampire of color. Just saying. Number 8, I never read anything so heartwarming. Name a book or a series that really touched your heart. Well, when it comes to heart, I feel like the most appropriate book to mention will always be Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I love this story. Time and time again, it just takes me to this place of happiness and peace and understanding. It's the fairy tale adventure that we all deserve because it celebrates how the greatest power in the world is the power to love yourself, and how once you learn to do that, there's no limit to what you can do. It doesn't matter if it's the book or if it's the Miyazaki film, because this story is just something special. Number 9, I never laughed so hard. Name a book that made you laugh out loud. For me, that is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I read this one while I was still in community college, and I remember arriving to school extra early so I could have more time to read this book, and I also had to actually press my hand down over my mouth so that I wouldn't laugh so loud that I disturbed the other classes. This is just a classic, funny, satirical story that is absolutely hilarious. And finally, number 10, I never could have made it through childhood without it. Name a beloved childhood book or series. That is definitely The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. While I certainly owe a lot to other childhood series like the Magic Treehouse series, the Junie B. Jones series, the Harry Potter series, it was this book that solidified me as a reader. It's because of this book that I love stories as much as I do today. The Phantom Tollbooth was assigned as the class book for one of my elementary school classes, and I just remember my mind being blown wide open. For the first time, I could really see all of these incredible possibilities for character, for language, for fantasy, and I was so excited to talk about this book all the time because I had never experienced anything like it. And I'm proud to say this book has definitely stood the test of time. It has so much imagination and whimsy to offer younger audiences, but it also has wisdom and thoughtfulness to offer older audiences. So it's really just the perfect book. So those are all the questions for this tag. I didn't think about who I would like to tag myself, so I'm just gonna say if you're like me and you have a birthday in the second half of the year, then I officially tag you. But that is everything I had for this tag today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page.